How do we deal with adult toddlers who throw tantrums to get their way? That's the subject of this video. I'll run you through a few strategies that can work under some circumstances, and perhaps you'll find something helpful. This is the second part of a two-part video series. The first one was explaining why people throw tantrums. Once we understand the logic of the tantrum throwing, it's easier to find strategies that might lower the probability of it happening to at least give us a bit of breathing space to walk out of toxic situations so we can get our life back together. If you haven't watched the first video, I suggest you watch it. It's rather short. It should give you a few of the key points that will be helpful to really understand these tools and techniques. So if you're ready, let's jump in. There are a limited number of ways to approach this. I'll run you through quickly a few of them. The first one is changing the way we think. And that's part of the reason, I guess, why you're watching this video. The second is change the way we behave. If we don't change our behavior, we'll probably get the same result. If we do change our behavior, we'll get a different result. Now, please remember also, because I get many people saying, thank you for your advice. I'm not giving advice. I don't know what behavior works in your situation. I don't know your situation. I don't know the risks. I don't know the dangers. I don't know who you're dealing with. What I'm doing is I'm sharing models that help think more clearly. It's up to you to figure out how to apply these models. If you don't know how to do it, work with a professional who can help you decide what works for you. I suggest avoiding working with people who give advice because they are gambling with your life and the consequences in your life. Those people might be well-intentioned, and that's not sure. They might be well-intentioned. It doesn't mean it's the right thing for you, and it's really important that you take responsibility for your decisions. Not easy, I know, but that's one of the keys to getting out of these terrible situations. Back into this diagram. The way we think, the way we act, and the third one that is often missed is the way we feel. Why is this one important? It's because when the person reacts towards us, we have an emotional response. Their actions get filtered through our emotions. If we're afraid of conflict, we have fear. If we're afraid of the anger that we have inside of us, we have anger. If we're afraid of sadness, we have sadness that's blocked, that's stored inside of us. As long as we have these that are stored, and you'll forgive this image, but it's the same as badly needing to go to the toilet. Your bladder is full and somebody starts pressing you on the bladder. It makes it unbelievably uncomfortable. But if your bladder is empty, you don't care. They can press as much as they like. You just shrug it off. If you don't deal with the emotions that are inside of you, you are easy to manipulate. This is one of the reasons why a key element on my path of healing was doing this emotional work, which now I do. It's this emotional energetic work which helps rid us from the stored emotions. Until you do this, and however you do it, you have to do it. Until you do it, you are easy to manipulate because all people have to do is press you, just like pressing you on the bladder when you need to go to the toilet. Back to this diagram. 3 ways of responding. First of all, thinking differently. Hopefully, with these diagrams, the effect that the people have on you is going to be much less strong because you will realize the dynamics and the games that are happening. Then, understanding the emotional healing that's needed and being able to observe that and do some work on it so you respond less, so you're less triggered. And then finally, the way you respond. If you stop acting the same way, then you'll be getting a different outcome, which can be really tricky because sometimes we feel pressured into responding. We can feel this here. We want to avoid the conflict. We act in a blue way. We get a tantrum, and then we want to change something. So one of the keys, you can try this if it's the right thing for you, and I'll let you make up your mind. One thing you do is simply, you don't respond. You don't change your behavior, you don't act. You shut down. This is part of Grey Rock. This is why Grey Rock is so helpful. Just stop responding. They might ask you why you stop responding. And in this case, if they ask you why, they're trying to get inside your head and mess around with you there. You might justify, you might argue, you might explain. They will nitpick to look for flaws inside your thinking and your reasoning. This is what we mentioned in another video about shining the spotlight onto you. If you let them shine the spotlight onto you, it's clear that they will find some flaw somewhere, and this is going to go around and around in your head. What I suggest doing that works better is don't rationalize, don't argue. Accept that most of our behaviors and actions are not rational. We just do them because we're very emotional creatures. And we try to make sense of it afterwards, but it doesn't usually make sense. So if they ask why, shrug it off and say, I don't know. Doesn't feel right. We can't argue with it doesn't feel right. That's like arguing, how does the water feel? It feels cold. Well, it should feel warm. Yeah, but it feels cold. So, okay, I understand it should feel warm, but it feels cold. So what are we even arguing about? Main thing here, stop responding or respond less. If you can be less triggered, it's easier to do. Even if you are triggered, if you stop responding, that's easier to get another outcome. And what you can do is try to tie in the pressure and the tantrum they are giving you to the absence of response. When you do that, when you get so upset, it makes me shut down. Leave it at that. If you stay safe when you do it. If you start tying in the tantrum to the lack of response, this then creates a circuit where if you want to do another tantrum, you'll get another lack of response. But you want some kind of response because otherwise you just get bored and you want to be getting attention. You want to upset me. You want to throw a tantrum. You want emotional supply. You want power over me. You want to get what you want and you want control. Well, now you have to choose because the tantrum makes you lose everything. If you can tie this in, not easy to do, this is going to create some kind of bug in the system. Like the code is going to block, is going to break itself. If you're able to do this, you can at least gain some momentary respite to step out of it. The goal always is for you to be happy and healthy and have positive relationships and be in a good place. This is not possible with someone who doesn't share your goals and who's actually got goals that are destructive for you. Throwing tantrums isn't healthy in a relationship. Conflict, this type of conflict isn't healthy. There's a lot of healthy conflict, but the healthy conflict is respectful. Getting power over someone else isn't healthy. And forcing the person to sacrifice something is perverted. This is not the kind of person it's possible to have a healthy relationship with. Again, observe the behaviors and ask yourself, what is the likelihood I can have a healthier relationship with this person? And what is the probability I want some kind of relationship with a person who acts this way? Focus on how they act, not who they pretend to be, how they act. An adult who throws tantrums is not an adult. And you don't want to be having a relationship with an emotional child. Maybe one conclusion of this is that we consider that narcissists don't make sense from our point of view because we have some assumptions, such as people want a healthy, happy, respectful relationship that works for both people. But when we understand that our goals are not shared by the other party, and their goals are goals which will actually destroy ours, and maybe that is their goal, then all of a sudden their behavior makes much more sense. These people are very practical. They know what they want, they find the way to get it, and as long as we allow them to do it, they'll do it again and again and again. What we have to do is change the system, change the behavior, and then we start getting a different result. This isn't easy because we have weaknesses that we have to work on, but once we work on them, then all of a sudden the dynamics change significantly. There we go. I hope you found this helpful. Please let me know in the comments, and see you soon. Stay healthy, stay safe.